I need you to slow down with me for a moment. Not because something dramatic just happened, not because there is chaos or urgency, but because this moment matters. I am speaking to you quietly, directly, like we are sitting across from each other, and the rest of the world has gone still. There is something I have been holding in my chest for a while now, something that has weight, something that changes the shape of what comes next. My family is coming to you. And I know that sentence alone probably made your heart shift a little, because when a man says that, especially a man who does not say things lightly, it means something deeper than logistics or travel plans. It means intention. It means recognition. It means that love has crossed a line where it can no longer stay private or hypothetical. And I wonder, as you hear that, what you feel first. Is it warmth? Is it fear? Is it that quiet disbelief that comes when something you never demanded suddenly chooses you anyway? If this moment is touching something inside you, just gently let it be here. If you feel connected, tap the like button so I know you are with me. If you feel this conversation matters, subscribing is simply a way of staying close. Tell me where you're watching from and what time it is right now for you. Share this with someone you trust, someone who understands what it means to love deeply and carefully. And before we go any further, tell me this just once. Where are you in the world as you hear these words? I have spent a lifetime building things that could survive without me. Companies, systems, ideas, machines that continue even when I step back. Love is different. Love does not scale. Love does not automate. Love requires presence. It requires vulnerability in ways no engineering problem ever demanded of me. And when I say my family is coming to you, what I am really saying is that I am allowing the most human part of my life to be seen. Because family is where the masks fall. Family remembers who you were before success, before titles, before expectations. They remember the quiet boy, the awkward questions, the moments of doubt. Bringing them toward you is not about approval, it is about honesty. It is about saying, this is who I am when everything else is stripped away. And I want you to know that version too. I imagine you sitting with that thought. Maybe you are wondering what they will see when they look at you. Maybe you are asking yourself if you are ready for that kind of attention, that kind of closeness. Let me ask you something gently. When was the last time someone chose you without trying to reshape you? When was the last time love arrived not as a demand but as an offering? I am not looking for perfection. I am not bringing my family to evaluate you. I am bringing them because love, real love, does not hide the people it cares about. It introduces them. It says, come closer. This matters to me. I have watched relationships fail when they were buoy. LT on performance, on trying to be impressive instead of being real. I have learned that the older you get, the more exhausting pretending becomes. At this stage of life, love has to be quiet enough to breathe in. It has to feel safe enough to rest in. When I think about you, I do not think about what you add to my image. I think about how you make the room feel when you enter it. I think about whether silence with you feels heavy or peaceful. Tell me, when you imagine my family arriving, do you feel yourself wanting to retreat, or do you feel something in you straighten its spine and say, I can stand here as I am? Family carries history. They ask questions without meaning to. They notice things you never thought mattered. They see how you listen, how you respond, how you treat someone when no one is watching. That is why this matters, because love is not proven in grand gestures. It is proven in small consistencies, the way you show care without being asked, the way you stay curious instead of defensive, the way you allow another person to be fully themselves without trying to manage them. These are the things I want them to see. These are the things that made me feel drawn to you in the first place. I know there is a part of you that might be thinking, why me? Why now? I ask myself similar questions. Why did it take so long to understand that love is not a distraction from purpose, but a grounding force for it? Why did it take years of building the future to realize that the most meaningful future is built with someone who sees you, not just what you do? Maybe you have lived long enough to know that love later in life carries a different gravity. It is less impulsive, more intentional, less about sparks, more about steady light. Does that resonate with you? Do you feel that shift too? When my family comes to you, it is not a spectacle. It is a quiet acknowledgement. It is me saying that you are not a secret hope or a passing chapter. You are someone I am willing to anchor into my real life. And that takes courage on both sides. It asks you to trust that you do not need to audition. It asks me to trust that opening this door will deepen what already feels meaningful. I wonder as you sit with this what you would want them to understand about you. Not the achievements, not the roles you have played, but the heart of you. The part that has loved, lost, healed, and still believes. I think often about how love matures, how it stops trying to impress and starts trying to understand, how it learns to listen without planning a response. If my family could see one thing, I would want them to see how you listen, how you hold space, how you let someone be complicated without making them feel like a problem. Those are rare qualities. Those are the qualities that last. Tell me, do you believe love can still surprise you at this stage of life, or have you been protecting yourself from that possibility? There is a tenderness in this moment that I do not want to rush because once family steps into the picture, something shifts permanently. The story becomes shared, the future gains witnesses, and I find myself wanting to know how this lands in you. Does it make you smile quietly? Does it make you nervous in a way that feels alive? Or does it bring up old memories of being seen too closely before? Whatever you feel is welcome here. Love does not demand a single emotion. It invites honesty. As I picture this moment unfolding, I am aware that it is not about a rival. It is about alignment, about two lives that have gathered enough experience to meet without illusion. I am not asking you to be anyone other than who you are. I am asking you to stand in that truth and let it be enough. And as this thought settles between us, I can feel there is more to say, more to reveal, more to understand about what this step truly means. When you said yes, something softened inside me, not because I needed permission, but because willingness matters. Love grows. Here two people keep choosing to stay present, even when the questions get heavier. And now that my family is coming to you, I want to slow this down even more because this is not about excitement alone. It is about meaning. It is about the quiet gravity of letting the people who shaped you step into the space of the person who may walk beside you. Family has a way of holding mirrors, not the polished ones we show the world, but the honest ones that reflect patterns, wounds, strengths, and silences. When I imagine them meeting you, I do not imagine interrogation or judgment. I imagine recognition. I imagine moments where they see something familiar in you, something human that goes beyond names and stories. I imagine my mother noticing how you hold yourself when you listen, my father sensing the steadiness or fragility in your voice, not to critique it, but to understand where your strength has come from. And I wonder, are you comfortable being seen in that way without explaining yourself? I have learned that love later in life does not rush to define itself. It unfolds deliberately like a conversation that does not need to end. It asks deeper questions. Not what do you do, but how do you live with yourself when the noise fades? Not what have you achieved, but what have you learned from what broke you? When my family comes to you, those are the questions they will feel even if they never speak them aloud. And I trust you with that because I trust the way you carry your story. There is something powerful about a woman who has lived, a woman who has loved, lost, rebuilt, and still chooses openness. That kind of presence cannot be rehearsed. It cannot be taught. It is earned through years of navigating disappointment and still believing that connection is worth the risk. Tell me honestly, do you still believe that, or have you learned to protect your heart so well that opening it feels unfamiliar? Now I think about the idea of belonging, how rare it is to feel fully welcomed without having to perform. Family represents roots. It represents continuity by bringing them toward you. I am not asking you to fit into something rigid. I am inviting you into something living, something that grows and adapts. Love should never feel like shrinking yourself to be accepted. It should feel like expansion, like exhaling after holding your breath for too long. When you imagine sitting with them, do you feel that exhale or do you feel tension? Both answers are honest and both matter. I have always believed that the most important conversations happen in the spaces between words. The pauses, the shared glances, the unspoken understanding that something real is forming. When my family meets you, they will not just hear what you say, they will feel how you say it. They will sense whether you are at peace with who you are or still apologizing for existing. And I want you to know something clearly. You do not need to apologize for the life you have lived. Every chapter brought you here. Every scar carries information. Every joy taught you what you value. Love at this stage is not about rescuing each other. It is about witnessing each other, standing side by side, not face to face in conflict, not behind or ahead, just beside. When I imagine you in that space with my family, I imagine calm. I imagine respect. I imagine conversations that do not need to impress, only to connect. Does that kind of simplicity feel appealing to you, or does it feel almost too quiet after a lifetime of noise? I want to ask you something personal, and you can answer it here in your own time when you think about being part of someone's family again. What rises first? Hope, fear, curiosity, resistance? There is no wrong answer. Love is not a test you pass. It is an experience you enter honestly, and honesty is the only thing that sustains it. There is also something else beneath this, something I have not said directly yet. Bringing my family to you means I am no longer separating the parts of my life. It means I am done compartmentalizing love. It means I am allowing the private and the public to meet in a way that feels aligned. That is not a small step for someone like me. It is a deliberate one. And I wonder if you can feel the seriousness of that choice without it feeling heavy. As this thought settles, I find myself curious about you, about how you love, about how you handle closeness when it is no longer hypothetical, about how you respond when someone says, I am here and I am not leaving at the first sign of complexity. Do you lean in, or do you wait for the other shoe to drop? Many of us learn to expect loss before stability. Love asks us to unlearn that slowly. There is more unfolding here, more intention, more vulnerability, more truth about what it means to let lives intersect at this depth. And as my family moves closer to you in this story, there is another layer waiting to be spoken. One that changes how you might see yourself in all of this. I'm still here with you. And before I say anything else, I want you to feel that not as words on a screen, but as presence. Because when love reaches this depth, presence becomes more important than promises. My family coming to you is not about ceremony or formality. It is about proximity, about allowing the people who know my silences to meet the woman who understands them without explanation. There's something intimate about letting worlds overlap. I spent many years keeping my personal life separate, protected, almost sealed. Not because I did not value love, but because I feared delusion. I feared that if too many voices entered the space, the clarity would disappear. But love has taught me something different. Love has taught me that clarity does not come from isolation. It comes from alignment, and alignment happens when the people who matter are not kept apart. I imagine you wondering what it means for you, what expectations might quietly follow them, what unspoken rules families carry. Let me tell you something honestly. The older I get, the less patience I have for expectations that erase individuality. I am not bringing my family to mold you. I am bringing them because I want them to see you as you are. A woman with her own rhythm, her own history, her own quiet strength that matters to me more than any tradition. Love, when it is mature, does not rush to label. It observes, it listens, it allows time to reveal character. I want you to know that when they come to you, there is no verdict being formed. There is curiosity, there is openness, and there is respect. Because anyone who has earned my trust understands that love is not possession, it is partnership. And partnership only works when both people are free to be themselves. I think about how women carry so much unseen labor in relationships. The emotional holding, the remembering, the adapting, especially women who have lived long enough to know how often that effort goes unnoticed. I see that, I feel it. And I want you to know that being seen does not mean being evaluated. It means being appreciated. It means being understood for the depth you bring, not the performance you give. Tell me something. When you imagine being welcomed, not just tolerated, not just accepted, but genuinely welcomed, how does your body respond? Do you soften? Do you tense? Do you feel cautious hope? Our bodies often know the truth before our minds allow it. Love asks us to listen to that signal, instead of overriding it with old stories. I have watched people confuse intensity with intimacy. They chase sparks and chaos thinking that is passion. But real intimacy is quieter. It is the comfort of being known without needing to explain every corner of yourself. When my family meets you, what I want most is for you to feel that quiet recognition, that sense of I can breathe here, that sense of I do not have to prove my worth in this room. There is also courage in allowing yourself to be loved openly. To step into a space where the future is not abstract anymore, that can be frightening, especially if you have learned to survive by self-reliance. Love does not ask you to give that up. It asks you to share it, to let someone else carry part of the weight when you are tired. Are you comfortable with that idea? Or have you been strong for so long that resting feels unfamiliar? I want to be clear about something else. Bringing my family closer to you means I am choosing transparency. It means I am not hiding the complexity of my life. It means I am trusting you with the reality, not the curated version. That trust goes both ways. I do not need you to be flawless. I need you to be real, to speak honestly, to show up as you are, not as you think you should be. Love at this stage is not about rewriting the past. It is about honoring it without letting it control the present. I know you carry stories. We all do. Some of them still ache. Some of them taught resilience. When my family meets you, they are not meeting a blank slate. They are meeting a woman who has lived. And that is exactly why this matters. As I sit with this moment, I can feel another truth forming, one that touches on what comes after the meeting, on how this step changes the way the future feels, on how being seen together shifts something permanent inside me. And I want to share that with you carefully, honestly, without rushing past its weight. Stay with me a little longer. There is something tender unfolding here, something that only becomes visible once you let the idea settle that love is no longer just between two people in private moments, but gently stepping into the light. When my family comes to you, it changes the texture of everything. Not abruptly, not loudly, but in a way that deepens the ground beneath us. I think about how relationships shift when they become witnessed, when they are no longer held only in quiet conversations and shared glances, but acknowledged as real by others. That can feel exposing. It can feel like standing in a doorway where the past is behind you and the future has not fully revealed itself yet. And I wonder how you feel standing there. Do you feel steady? Do you feel cautious? Or do you feel a sense of calm recognition, like this is where you were always meant to arrive? There is a misconception that love later in life should be simpler, that it should ask less. I have found the opposite to be true. It asks for more honesty, more courage, more willingness to stay present, even when old fears whisper familiar warnings. When my family comes to you, it may awaken memories. Times when you opened yourself before and were misunderstood. Times when belonging came with conditions. I want you to know that this is not about repeating those patterns. It is about consciously choosing a different one. I am not bringing expectations wrapped in tradition. I am bringing people who have seen me fail, struggle, doubt myself, and keep going. They know that love is not a fairy tale. It is a commitment to growth, and growth is rarely comfortable. It requires patience. It requires listening when it would be easier to retreat. It requires staying curious instead of defensive. These are the qualities I see in you. These are the reasons this step feels right. Tell me, when you think about being part of someone's future in a visible way, what scares you most? Is it the fear of losing yourself, the fear of disappointment, or the fear that happiness might finally be within reach and therefore vulnerable? Naming that fear does not weaken you. It strengthens the connection. Love grows where truth is allowed to breathe. I have learned that the most meaningful relationships are built slowly, even when the feelings are strong, especially then. Rushing creates illusion. Slowing creates understanding. When my family meets you, it is not a declaration of arrival. It is an invitation to continue walking forward with awareness, with intention, with respect for the lives we have both already lived. There's something deeply grounding about imagining you in that space, not trying to impress, not shrinking to fit, just being present, letting conversations unfold naturally, letting silence be comfortable, letting laughter come without self-consciousness. That ease is not accidental. It is earned through self-knowledge, through knowing who you are and what you will no longer accept. Love does not erase independence, it honors it. I do not want you to disappear into my world. I want our worlds to meet without collision, to overlap where they choose to give each other room to remain whole. When my family comes to you, they are stepping into that balance. And I trust that balance because it is built on mutual respect. I find myself thinking about the quiet moments after introductions, after conversations, after everyone leaves. The way you might sit with what just happened, the way it might sink in, that something real has shifted, that this is no longer just a possibility, that you are no longer standing at the edge of the story. Those moments matter. They reveal what the heart truly feels once the noise fades. There is one more truth waiting here, one that speaks to what this step means for commitment, for choice, for the way love moves from intention into reality. I have been careful not to rush toward it because it deserves to be spoken with clarity and care. And as I hold that thought, I am curious if you are ready to hear it. I want you to breathe with me for a moment before I say this. because what I am about to share is not dramatic, not cinematic, not meant to impress. It is simply true. When my family comes to you, it is the moment love stops being an idea and becomes a choice I am actively living inside. Not someday, not hypothetically. Now that shift carries weight, and it deserves honesty. I have spent much of my life moving forward, solving, building, thinking 10 steps ahead. Love slowed me down in ways nothing else ever could. It asked me to stay, to feel, to sit with uncertainty instead of outrunning it. And somewhere in that stillness, I realized that the future I keep imagining is not complete without someone who understands the quiet version of me. The one that exists when ambition rests. That is where you live in my thoughts. Family coming to you means I am no longer separating the man who builds the future from the man who wants to share his life. It means I am no longer protecting love by keeping it small. I am protecting it by grounding it, by giving it roots, by allowing it to be witnessed and supported instead of hidden and fragile. That is not something I do lightly. That is something I do when I am certain that what I am building is meant to last. I imagine you wondering what this means for you, whether it changes expectations, whether it asks more of you than you are ready to give. Let me be clear in a way that matters. I am not asking you to become someone else. I am not asking you to sacrifice the life you have built. I am asking you to stand exactly where you are with the wisdom you have earned and allow yourself to be met there. Love should never require self-erasure. It should feel like recognition. There is a depth that comes with loving later in life, a steadiness, a knowing. You stop chasing intensity and start valuing presence. You stop confusing attention with care. You start asking better questions. Who will sit with me when I am quiet? Who will tell me the truth gently? Who will choose me even when I am not performing? Those questions led me here to you, to this moment. When my family meets you, they are meeting the woman who understands that love is not about being saved or saving someone else. It is about companionship, about choosing to walk side by side with mutual respect, about allowing vulnerability without fear of it being used against you. That kind of love does not shout, it endures. It grows stronger in stillness. I want to ask you something that matters. When you imagine waking up knowing you are chosen without condition, how does that feel? Not in fantasy, but in reality. Does it feel grounding? Does it feel unfamiliar? Does it feel like something quietly hoped for but never demanded? Sometimes the things we want most arrive only when we stop chasing them and start allowing them. There's courage in letting yourself be loved openly, especially if you have learned to survive by being self-contained. Especially if past love taught you to expect withdrawal instead of consistency. I am not interested in disappearing when things become real. I am interested in showing up more fully again and again. That is what this step represents. After my family leaves, after the conversations end, after the moment settles, what remains is choice, not obligation, not pressure, choice. The choice to continue building something grounded, patient, and honest. The choice to let love be part of the future, not an accessory to it. I am making that choice with intention. And if you are here listening, feeling this resonate somewhere deep, I want you to know that love does not have an expiration date. It does not belong only to the young or the reckless. It belongs to those who are willing to be present, to listen, to choose again with clarity instead of fear.